Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. The two are interchangeable. Forgive me, I've got my food here today, but I'm not able to finish my food because one of my consultations really ran over today. You know who you are, your name begins with N. It's up there. And I'm like, I can't finish it. Otherwise I would be late for the show. And I don't want to be late for you guys because I could see well, I actually was a few minutes late, so apologies for that. But I see here you all are. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me. So of course, Thursday fry up. I've got your questions. I've got some of your questions from that I wasn't able to, that we didn't have time to answer on Hogelish. But I mean, we get through a lot of questions now with one card pulls, don't we, on Hogelish? But so many great questions. So I'm going to read, pardon me, some of those ones that I wasn't able to read last night. And then I've got some more questions that have come in. So I'll squeeze in a few of those and we'll just dive in. Hello, let me just say hello to peeps. So we've got here Roy Black is saying hello. Annie is saying hello to everyone. Sharon Sipe is here saying hello to Angela. We've got, who else is here? Connie is here. So nice to see you. Debbie. And of course, people saying hello to each other as well in the chat. Oh, I don't know this name. Here, KT Mead. Hello, everybody. Bilowski. I wonder what the USA will look like after the orange one is gone. Oh, indeed, indeed. And we have Lilith. Lilith is here. Thanks so much. And people saying hi to each other in the chat. So as you all know, dive into the chat, get stuck in. Many of you, of course, have made friends with each other, which is great. It feels really good to be contributing to sort of like the online community, and we can get together, have our little chin wags, and it talk about what's going on in the world and all this stuff, because oh my gosh, it's just absolute madness. Also, I want to say a thank you as well to everyone who has watched and also liked my video on the Pope as well. Much appreciated. It's actually got really quite a lot of views, and people found it very kind of useful and very interesting. Of course, I looked at his chart, and as you know, I did, see this coming, this big stellium here, but so much more is happening as well in the world. And isn't it not the case, huh? Reality check. Yeah, Saturn is delivering out the reality checks through everyone's doors. And all of a sudden, the billionaires are starting to realize, oh dear, maybe supporting Trump was not such a good idea. We've seen the tumultuousness, the ups and downs, but more reality, of course, has to happen for people to kind of get it. And oh, look, someone's saying here, Sweet Pea is saying, at Texas, I agree, genocides start with registries, data analysis of data that he 99% didn't win. Ooh, we shall see. I mean, in my predictions, if you guys can remember, I was agonizing over my predictions for the election. And do you remember I looked at Kamala Harris's chart and JD Vance's chart, and then I looked at Trump's Kamala Harris's chart and Tim Walz's chart, and then JD Vance and Trump's chart. And do you remember I was agonized because, as we know, Duckarange has a very powerful chart with a strong connection with many planets there. Kamala's chart was strong as well, but not quite as strong as Duckarange's. JD Vance had the weakest chart, but the one who had the strongest chart of all was actually Tim Walz. His chart was the only one that could potentially outcompete Trump's chart. So you had this kind of thing, and this is why I said, well, technically Kamala and Tim Walz should win, particularly when you combine their charts, but really you have to look at the one-on-one. But I said, if she wins, it's because of Tim Walz's chart. And I said, if Trump loses, it's because of JD Vance's chart. And in the end, it ended up being really close, didn't it? Now, I did also say in my prediction, I said, Trump will cheat. Go back and have a look. I said, Trump will cheat. But I also said as well in the past that I said he doesn't have to win. Yeah, I mean, I said he doesn't have to win. It just has to be close. So, you know, he's basically admitted it in the Oval Office. You know, Elon Musk did his wizardry and what have you. But, you know, we're yet to see a congruent argument kind of come together. But we are where we are. Yeah. So let's just let's get into some of these questions. These ones I wasn't able to ask yesterday. As you know, I'd like to go at a quick pace, and let's just dive in, and then I'll see what bring you guys into the conversation as well. All right. So let's see here. So this is actually coming from Ruel, and this is a good one. So she says, hello, my Wednesday wonders. Of course, today is Thursday, but we know this was a question from before. When Trump is gone, we'll still have the white Christian nationalists, evangelicals, Federalist Society, Heritage Foundation, MAGA-controlled Congress, and media. How will their support end? Trump leaving isn't enough. And I think I wrote back in the comments, I said, agree, their support will end when people stop supporting them, but it's well worth a read. So let's read on that. When will the support end? And you know what I was pondering, guys? I was reflecting, you know, as I'm inclined to do. And as you know, I love my Greek mythology, my Greek and Roman mythology. And I was thinking about the gods. Yeah, I was thinking about the gods, because the planets are the gods and the gods are the planets, etc. If you look at that pantheon, obviously for people of Abrahamic religions, etc., that wouldn't be a thing. But anyway, and I was thinking of Saturn, you know, the planet of rules, regulation, Mars, planet of war and passion, Jupiter, planet of wisdom and expansion, and Neptune and his abilities, spiritualities, illusions, delusions, etc. And I was thinking to myself, who's the most powerful god or goddess? And I was looking at the mythology, and I was remembering how Aphrodite / Venus was underestimated by all of the gods. She is, of course, the goddess of love. But not just love, can also do with conflict, war, and stuff like that. And she was born on the foam of the waves after the castration of Uranus, yeah, by Kronos, which is actually Saturn. Saturn castrated his father, Uranus, the sky god. And his bits were thrown into the sea, and that blended with the sea foam, the aphros. That's what the Greeks called the foam of the sea, is called aphros. And she was born of that union, which is why she has the name Aphrodite. Do you see? And because she had no childhood, and you know, she's very, very beautiful, and she had been raised by the nymphs, and she had a girdle of irresistibility, a lot of the gods didn't take her seriously until she started the Trojan War, yeah, by when Paris chose her as the most beautiful goddess after Eris, threw her golden apple into the party that she wasn't invited, and it was to whom the fairest. So there was a conflict between Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite to be who named the most beautiful. Jupiter didn't want to do it because he knew it'd be a whole load of headache, and he chose Paris to do it. Hera said, you will be the supreme ruler of a kingdom, etc. You will have all of this. Athena, god of war, a goddess of war, said you will never be defeated in battle and you'll go down as a hero. But Aphrodite said, I will give you the hand of the most beautiful woman in the world. And him being a young and foolish man, he chose that, and hence the Trojan War. And after that point, the gods started to respect her. And I was just thinking of that legend. Why am I going on this tangent here? I wasn't expecting to talk about Greek mythology, apologies. But I thought, why? Venus is the planet of wealth, the original planet of wealth. Jupiter deals with wealth as well, but millionaires. But Venus deals with billionaires. So does Neptune and the outer planets, but she deals with billionaires. And I was thinking, when you look at this situation, look at this. You saw me shuffling. Look at the bottom. When you look at this situation, yeah? Poverty is starting to come. When the billionaires lose money, and when people lose money and it affects their pay packets, that is when people take action. So we notice that the polls are going down, yeah? Trump should never have been elected. He was morally unfit from the get-go. We know all of his faults. Everyone knows, but they still voted for him anyway. Why? Because a lot of people thought they would get rich. Aphrodite, Venus, wealth. And it's now that he's turned the, stock market upside down. It's not only that he's trashed America's reputation, etc. They didn't abandon him then. It's the economy. Once the billionaires starting to lose their money and they feel that America is now a tarnished brand, now we're starting to hear murmurings of impeachment. And that taught me something. I was reflecting on something and I was like, you know what? Maybe Aphrodite is the most powerful god, because it goes to show people are prepared to put up with all kinds of moral rectitude and injustice and all kinds of crap, basically, as long as it doesn't affect them in their pocketbooks. But the second the pocketbook is affected, wow, now we see the tears, now we see the wringing of hands, not because Trump was morally unfit and absolutely morally bankrupt, destitute, whatever words you can use to describe it. This was all known. They picked him because they thought they would get rich, and now he's not making them rich, they want rid. So maybe Aphrodite is the most powerful goddess of them all. Just a little thought there, just a little thought. Anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent. Anyway, so so how will their support end? Well, I've already given you the clue, isn't it? It's when they can no longer make money off him, when they lose all the people that the MAGA voters that are turning around now because the tariffs making them poorer. Yeah, so it's the economy. When people lose money, that's when his support will end. This is why his support is going down, which makes Aphrodite an extraordinarily powerful goddess who is often overlooked. Maybe the most powerful god of all when it comes to planet Earth. Let's have a look. When will they abandon him? I think I've already spoken it, but let's see what the cards have to say. When will these people abandon Duckarange properly? Not holding on, waiting for the economy to turn around, but actually ditching him and impeaching him, because that's what needs to happen. It's the only, even if he was impeached and thrown out of office by 2 weeks from now, so much damage has been done. A lot of damage has been done that will take decades to repair. But if he is not impeached, if he's not removed, it will be worse. And I think this is what people are realizing. Oh, look at the card that comes out first. Ah, well. Ah, well, this says it all. This says it all. This says it all. You will know, for those of you that saw my show yesterday, do you remember I was talking about Trump and I can't remember where it was, and the Emperor card came up? That was it. We were talking about him wanting to turn the civil service into kind of sycophants and stuff like that. And I said it was about maintaining his authoritarian power. We're talking about Trump again. What will it take for him to leave? Look who's back. So this represents Trump, Duckarange, but all his ambitions. Trump wants to be emperor of the world, or whatever. I say emperor, but again, I still think it's king, because he doesn't have the scope of understanding or influence to be an emperor. But these are his pretensions. Yeah, an emperor has to look after an empire at the end of the day, and irrespective of what the emperor does, it can never just be completely about him. Yeah, because an empire is to run not only your own country, but many countries. And we know that Trump couldn't even run a casino. Yeah, couldn't make a profit off a casino. But this is talking about his illusions, his delusions. But this is also talking about the powerful men, the powerful patriarchy that has supported him. This is part of the reason why we have this affliction of Duckarange. It's not just him, it's the people around him. It's Wall Street that basically put him there. It's these patriarchs. Yeah. However, look at his obstacle position. Now, you'll remember what I said about this card. And for me, there is one card in particular that does represent death, yeah, or endings, or the ending of career. And you guys, you know this card because I associate it with the Four of Swords. When I did my Pope video, do you remember I got the Hierophant and the Four of Swords together, and I said this means an ending. Yeah, someone's career is coming to an end. Look at the card that has come out next in Trump's obstacle position. This is not good for him. You do not want to see this card. Whenever I see this card in terms of association with politics and stuff, someone's career is being brought to an end, or they could literally die, as in the case, sadly, with the Pope. May he rest in peace. Because you can see here, this is a mausoleum. This is a card of being wounded in battle, etc. But for example, when I was doing a reading and this came up with Biden, I knew that Biden was going to have to step down. Yeah, particularly as well, Uranus was on that star Algol again, but this is back in the summer, of course, of 2024. Algol is going over that star for the third time. By the time we reach June, it will start to get more than 5 degrees away from the star and the impact will lessen. But I said this is a difficult time for Trump. Yeah, it does deal with assassinations and stuff like that, but also as well when Saturn and Rahu are together, like they were back in the 1960s. What was it, in 1968? We had the assassination of Bobby Kennedy and, of course, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah. So this is a bad omen. This is why I was worried about Zelensky. Do you remember when I was doing that reading before he went into the White House? And I said, it's going to be like they're going to try and end him, end his career. And look how they treated him. And he had to kind of get out of exit stage left quite quickly. So I think there are people now, the oligarchy, yeah, the oligarchy, the patriarchy, want him gone. And you will also remember, I know I'm going into such detail of this, but for me, this is quite profound, because you remember I said 3 months. I said, if he doesn't do what they want, and remember, J.D. Vance is plotting as well. Do you remember I said, J.D. Vance is Trump's biggest danger. If he doesn't do what they want, he will end up at the bottom of the stairs. Something slipped into the tea or whatever. But they will find a way to get rid. And I think we are reaching that point. It doesn't guarantee it, but I'm seeing it in the cards. Yeah. And as you know, I have to say what I see. If we look here, we see heartache. Yeah. Sleepless nights. This is the worry over the economy, not just for people that were already struggling and are going to struggle more because of the tariffs. This is everyone. Everyone is worried about the economy, even the billionaires, as rich as they are. I mean, think of Target, for example, that went with their BS, with that drivel, removing the DEI, blah, blah, blahs. And they've lost, at the time, last time I checked, it was 14 and something billion loss in profits and counting. Now they're begging, trying to go to black pastors and being like, oh, we're down with it. Yeah, no, change your values. You know, why? Look at this. Why are you going with this? This is the billionaires talking. Apparently they had a private meeting, didn't they? The press wasn't involved, so obviously they could speak candidly. And it was reported by someone who was in attendance that Trump had been instructed, stop this BS with the tariffs. You are hurting everything. And then he says, well, we're not going to go against China and blah, 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 you know, back down. Then, of course, he's, you know, seen the reporting. He probably watches a bit of independent media as well. And you know how we let rip on him. He certainly has his minions that do. And then, you know, Caroline Levitt, that, you know, that twisted Barbie girl, says, oh, no, he's not changing his stance and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to work, Duckarange. It's not going to work. We look here, we got the 7 of Cups, which is the card of what? Illusions and delusions. These people have been deluded. It's all a delusion, all of it. This is, we're dealing with Trump's delusions of grandeur. Do you remember when I did a read on his chart and I said, we are all living the consequences of Trump's dark fantasy of himself as a leader, but it's deluded. But this also shows the illusion and delusion for the people that voted for him, those that have bankrolled him, you know, the billionaire patriarchy that have put him where he is, including Elon, who of course is suffering the consequences now, much deservedly so. Everything Trump touches turns to ash, yet these people never think it's them. Yeah, because they're deluded. They never think it's them. Just look at his track record. Duckarange is being Duckarange at the end of the day. It's other people that need to look at themselves in the mirror and slap themselves in the face for thinking that this man is out for them. Yeah, deluded. But if we look here, we see with the Three of Pentacles, there is a plan. There is planning going behind the scenes, front of the scenes, but definitely behind the scenes. Of course, in this private audience with these billionaires getting together, they are obviously going to be coordinating. They are going to be speaking to representatives, and they're going to be saying, this needs to stop. All of this tariffs on, tariffs off rubbish. No one can do anything. It affects everyone, even the billionaires. Not that we feel sorry for them, but that's what they care about. And in a way, and this is, I've been reading into the energy, what does Trump really represent? He's here. I think his spiritual purpose is to wake everybody up by giving everyone a nightmare, especially those that have supported this. Those that have supported this man need to go through the nightmare to realize their delusion, their utter delusion in voting for this guy. How could they say, like, oh, he's the lesser of two evils when it comes to Kamala, and Kamala is not qualified? I mean, come on, please, go drown yourself. Rubbish, drivel. But you see, Saturn had to go through Pisces. He's beginning his journey. Pop, pop, pop. The reality checks are being delivered through the letterbox. So now there's going to be collaboration here coming together. So we'll have to see how it will manifest. Uranus is still closely conjunct Algol, but that orb will get wider from June. From June, I can't remember the exact date, that orb starts to come off. It doesn't mean that Trump will necessarily be out of the woods, but it'd be less dangerous. Yeah. So we'll have to see. But they are letting him go, but it's because of the money. Yeah. That's all they care about. That's all they care about. And the MAGA lot thinking that they were getting $5,000-$6,000. Rubbish. He's cut food stamps. He's cutting Medicaid has been, you know, imagine when all that stuff kicks in. No tourism. Oh my God. Ridiculous. But there's that illusion and delusion. All right, let's see who else is in the house. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I, folks? But you know, when it's you and I together, you know, we can go off on our little tangents, can't we? Mary Crane is saying hello, Hoagie. Happy Thursday from Los Angeles. So nice to see you. Thank you so much. Oh, Kitty, I've got a new member. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thanks so much, Kitty, and welcome. Crystal Blue Persuasion, thank you so much for your kind donation. And Rose Blue says, oh, the Medusa touch. Yes, she's doing her work. And just so you guys know, in May, I booked, oh, look who's at the bottom of the deck. Look who's at the bottom of the deck. He's in danger, you know. If it's not impeachment, it'll be something else. If it's not impeachment, it'll be something else. And those around him as well. No, they're not going to put up with this for long. They're not going to put up with this for long. But I'm going to be taking May off from consultations just to give myself a bit of a rest, but also as well, I want to produce new things. I need to work on some courses. A lot of my clients have been asking for that, and it's time. Planning things, like I said, early days, things for Ibiza, you know, doing in-person workshops, retreats. I want to produce more content as well for my membership as well. So, you know, start looking into more other things with the planets and the countries and all of that stuff. So taking some time off. It doesn't mean I'm not won't be working. I'll probably be working harder than ever, but I mean, you know what I mean. I'm always working, aren't I? All right, let's get into the next question. All right, so I crossed off the wrong one. A second. Oh, here we are. So Trina was saying, hello, lovely people. I was wondering if anyone in the Trump administration will be arrested for human rights violations. Also, when this rickety house of cards come down, will any of the MAGA GOP find themselves out in the wilderness and persona non grata? So the first reading has shown that, look, there is a bit of danger for Trump. Again, I'm not wishing him dead or what have you. And remember, these things can be metaphorical, but he did get that 4 of Swords, which can literally mean that. But it also means an ending of career, of one's position. That's how I interpret the cards. So, of course, the logical thing would be what happens afterwards. Yeah. So will there be any accountability for this undiluted douchebaggery that we're seeing from this regime? Highly incompetent regime as well. It's not just that they're evil, it's just that they're also extraordinarily vulgar and stupid and backward. Such an embarrassment. Oh, and I really feel for the people that didn't sorry, that didn't vote for this, because you're having to endure by proxy, isn't it? Even though you didn't contribute your energy to this, you made the right choice. But unfortunately, it's taking these energies. For how else would these people wake up? You know, the only way to wake up billionaires is for them to lose money, as we've seen. Forgive me for coughing, this because I was obviously eating earlier. Let me drink a bit of liquid. It's not a cough or anything. It's because I was eating and I get a bit of phlegm coming up. Right. Will there be any comeuppance for these people? God, the douchebaggery, man, is just so ridiculous. Let's see. Let's have a look. Wow. First card out. Well, if we look here, Tower card. Well, that's not good news, is it, for them? And they deserve to be knocked from their posts. But I'm thinking practically, logically, for this to happen, of course, Duckarange needs to go, but also JD Vance and that whole cabal. Yeah. If articles of impeachment are raised and it's followed through, then those people that have supported this regime will obviously be worrying about their own seats, etc. So maybe they might, you never know, they might do some kind of plea deal. Maybe there's some kind of plea deal or something like that. But at some point, yes, it does seem that the tower, in some ways, the tower is already happening because of those town halls. But if this gains momentum, yeah, it really could be the tower for these people. If you look here, we see here in the obstacle position is the Hermit. So normally this is a card of reflection, strategy, planning, going within. Yeah, but really we can consider it reversed because the first card is a difficult card, and this is also a major arcana as well. So this can talk about paranoia, a sense of paranoia, retreat, hiding from people, not wanting to come out, not wanting to be seen. Yeah, and of course the town halls. But I think this is more about threats, probably threats made against lives, family, and stuff. This has been emerging, but I think with this card here in this obstacle position, this is also showing that there's probably a lot of credence to that as well. It does not excuse them. Yeah, because remember, they've facilitated, they've greased the road to Trump's ascension for the second time. So they are culpable. But now he's there, they've got a sense of paranoia, wanting to retreat. Yeah, not only because they're getting it in the town halls in the neck, quite deservedly so. People should be throwing eggs and vegetables at them. But I think this is to do with the private threats as well, which has also come to them as a shock, like a tower moment. If we look here again, though, again, you see the money. This is the Knight of Pentacles, but the shadow of this card can talk about the mercenary, the paid mercenary. A lot of these people have been paid by Russia. We know that, but for me, this is just substantiates it. They could be getting these threats as well from Russia as well, because, you know, Russia's very good at that, you know. Compromat, Russian word, yeah, compromat is to get compromising things on a person or institution. So there's that as well. So it shows they've been bought, yeah, as mercenaries. However, we get the High Priestess, which of course is talking about machinations and stuff like that. When we're talking in politics, hidden agendas, hidden political alliances, espionage, secret plannings, can be a predatory card as well. So again, it's like they've been paid. They're spies. Yeah, how else to put it? Yeah, these people around him, they're spies. They're traitors. They're traitors. We know it, but we see that narrative playing out. But look, action is taken. The Knight of Wands, which is the passionate card, taking action, impulse, also deals with entrepreneurship as well. As we know, I associate this with business. So there is an element as well where business is wanting to take action, because of course these tariffs will be affecting everyone. Let me pull a clarifier card on that. Okay. So I hope you're enjoying the show, guys. And of course, please be sure to like and subscribe and share. As you know, to subscribe, it is free, like this video. Let's see what the clarifier is on that. Ah, look, it's the sun. The sun is what? Enlightenment, disclosure. So what I would say, for those that are fighting the good fight, they need to disclose things. Yeah, they need to rise up in passion. So if we read it, you know, sometimes I like to read the cards backwards. So here we have disclosure, enlightenment. How? By rising up in a passionate way. This is also talking about protest. This is like the likes of AOC and you know, everyone, you know, that is trying their best. A lot of, you notice, a lot of Democrats are still too silent for my liking, but at least some of them are trying. But rising up, disclosure about what? Secret plans, espionage, by paid mercenaries. Yeah, by foreign, other governments have paid these people. But now they're in fear of their own lives, these people. They're getting the threats from both sides, from their patrons and obviously from Duckarange. But ultimately, it leads to their downfall, a tower moment. This is not sustainable. Yeah, this situation is not sustainable. This can't go on for another year, let alone, well, it can't, this can't even go on for another 6 months, let alone a year, let alone 2 years for midterm, let alone 4 years. There'll be nothing left. There will be nothing left. It has to stop. And the reality check is setting in, and it looks like there'll be some accountability there as well. So thanks so much for that question. I hope you found it interesting. All right, let's see here. Who else is in the old chit chat? Lisa is saying, hello, beautiful souls. And we got Texas here, Texas T. So nice to see you. We have Carla Del Abate. I think that's how you say it. Hi everybody. Wendy saying a hi to everyone as well. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Sherry is here. Angela is here. Nice to see you. Oh, we've got another Texas here. Texas Possum. Oh, look at that photograph. Brilliant. And Winnie Boo is here as well, saying hello from California. And many more of you are joining me right now. Someone's saying too much information. In what sense? In what sense? Connecticut is in the house as well. Oh, someone's saying, will Duckarange be happy on his way home from the Pope's funeral? Let's see. I mean, Duckarange is not a religious man. He really isn't. He does have a belief, though. He does have a real passionate belief in kind of positive thinking, etc., and all of this kind of stuff that was taught to him years and years ago, and it has held him in good stead so far. I'll do a one card pull just to see how Trump's feeling after the Pope's. I mean, part of him will probably be like, oh God, look at all these millions of people that have come to look. Will millions of people come to see me when I'm dead? You know, that's probably what he's thinking. Will I be lying in state? Would I get a state funeral? I'm sure he'd be thinking about that. Most presidents do. He doesn't deserve it though, does he? Let's see. Just the one card. I'm going to do a one card pull. How does he feel? 1, 2, 3. Oh! Oh, you can't make it up. As you guys know, look, this is the star card, which is genuinely a very positive card. But you know, when I'm reading on politics, and you know I associate this card with Duckarange as well, I call it the narcissist. So he's going to come away from the Pope's funeral having ideas about himself lying in state or wanting all the attention to be on him. He is an absolutely raving, malignant narcissist, which we all know, and there's the evidence. So he wants it to be about him. He'll be thinking about the grandeur of his own lying in state. He might even take a few ideas. He may even try and steal the show in some kind of way, but he will be thinking narcissistically. Basically, he's going to want that love and adoration for himself. There you go. You can't make it up, eh? That's Duckarange. Let's see here. What other questions need? What's this? Nick Minks, the same reports Ukraine would need. Oh, so Nick Mink says, I've seen reports that Ukraine would need to cede territory to Russia or flip-floppy pulls out all support. Yeah, JD Vance was saying that as well. Will Ukraine be able to survive with Europe only supporting? So that's a question from Wednesday. Let's get stuck in. Let's see who else is here. Oh, let me just click on here. Rose Blue, thanks so much again for a lovely donation. Thank you. And thank you, JC. Thank you for your kind donation, saying I appreciate you, especially your disgust for this madness. Yeah, it's just, like I said, undiluted douchebaggery. And I just feel bad for people that are having to endure this on behalf of the collective of people that need to wake up. And I was shown the timelines, you know, as you know, I meditate with the planets and they come to me in their avatars, and I was shown the, you know, the two timelines by Pluto if they pit Kamala or if Trump got picked. And of course we see we're in the Trump bloody timeline now, and it was showing all stuff like this. It's going to have to get worse before it gets better though, unfortunately. But people are waking up. Even the billionaires. Let's just hope they wake up super, super quickly. All right. Will Ukraine be able to survive with only Europe supporting? Well, you know what? I'm going to say Europe is a bit stronger than what people think, actually. especially like basically Britain and France, we're sort of like the main military powers of Europe. And I'm not going to be advocating for any kind of war and stuff like that, because Russia sending over its bits and bobs, that would be, you know, awful. But if it ever did come to that, there's no way that Russia could defeat a combination of Britain and France working together. Game, set, and match, just over. They're exhausted. Russia's exhausted anyway. And like, Putin is not a stupid man. He's many, many things. One thing he's not, though, is stupid. We know he's evil and he's wicked, but he is not stupid, and he's not gonna maneuver, he's not gonna do things in a way to elicit that kind of response, do you see, from the UK and France. But anyway, let's see. So Ukraine, how can it stand with Europe's support alone? Because, you know, Trump's making noises about just dropping it all. JD Vance is making noises about dropping it all. If they do that, if they abandon Ukraine, then unfortunately the United States will just become the pariah of the world. It just will. It will just, history will not forgive. I mean, Trump should have been impeached the first, what, 2 times. You know, maybe it's third time lucky. It's he cannot stay. This is not sustainable. Even for the billionaires, it is not sustainable. A country cannot have a tariff policy like this, on for 10 minutes, off again, taxing penguins and albatross. It's madness. It just doesn't work. Even if you want to be a totalitarian regime, you don't just absolutely destroy everything. You're supposed to, you know, boil the frog or lobster a little bit more slowly, a bit more subtly. The way they've just vomited over everything is just, oh, let's see. These cards are complex. These cards are complex for Ukraine, because the question was, seen reports would Ukraine would need to cede territory to Russia, or flip-floppy pulls out all support. Will Ukraine be able to survive with Europe only supporting? So this is what the cards have to say. If we look here, we get these the 10 of Cups, which, as you can see, is the happy family, the reunion. When we're talking about American politics, this often comes up for the Republican Party, as we know, which is like this false sense of union. But here we really are talking about, the question was about Europe, the European Union. This bloc, this continent of countries that essentially, for the most part, has shared values. Yeah, this is also a card of values, shared values, collegiate sense, family. Yeah, this is talking about the European family. We will soon also as well have the Eurovision Song Contest going, which is the most absurd and ridiculous, yet amazing singing contest show on earth. There's some real talent on there, but you see some stuff on Eurovision that you will not see anywhere else. Those of you who are fans of Eurovision or know what Eurovision is will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so this is the European family. However, look what shows up in the obstacle position. Look, we have this sense of walking away. Yeah, but who is walking away? Now, we know Europe is committed to looking after Ukraine, but the ones who've been threatening to walk away has been what? America. Yeah, or JD Vance, Trump. So it looks like maybe they will abandon Ukraine. Given the context of the conversation, how else am I to interpret that card? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? I don't think it's going to be Europe walking away, because it's for Europe, for us in Europe, that war being lost has huge consequences, because this is a European war at the end of the day. It will just escalate and go further. But this could be the States walking away, JD Vance and Trump. However, if we look here, we have the Justice card. This is talking about legalities, laws. Could there be something to do with the Hague at some point? you know, these people have to be held to account. You know, JD Vance and Trump and all of that dark cabal. This, and you would have remember I said before, I said the war in Ukraine will end with some kind of legal agreement. Do you remember me saying that? I said it will end with some kind of legal agreement. And I also said, I said Poland will be part of it. I read on this months ago. You know, I just don't see how America's part of it. They're too in cahoots with Russia. They're looking for an excuse to walk away. They've abandoned Europe anyway. Yeah, America has abandoned Europe. But here there's this justice card here. So there's going to be some, I think if America leaves the table, which is highly likely that they will, I mean, we'll have to see. But looking at that, Europe is going to step in with some kind of legal work, some kind of legal framework. It might be to do with sanctions, but I'm not even feeling it. Maybe it might be to do with sanctions and stuff, but it's going to be in some kind of legal way. But if we look, the next card is the death card. Now, as you know, the death card isn't necessarily associated literally with death. For me, that's more the Four of Swords, which has already come out already. But this is talking about a transformation that cannot be avoided. Yeah, this is also talking about rebirth. Let's not forget, in the Moon card, you see the two the two pillars that have to be walked between. Yeah, trying to find that virtuous way, that middle way between the domesticity of the dog and the ravenousness of the wolf, and that weird lobster coming out of the subconscious, the waters. Here, the death card is like the card from the other side. And you see the sun is rising between the two pillars. So this talks about a new dawn. But you see underneath, a king is crushed underfoot. And here you have the Pope begging on behalf of this king. And here you see his wife and child are begging, but to no avail. Now, isn't this interesting? Because you see, the Pope is showing up again. He's coming in my cards quite literally. We know the Pope has just passed. But what this says to me is, intuitively, could the Pope be helping from the other side? Could he? Is he going to help Europe and Ukraine from the other side? Now that he has passed through the valley of death himself, but a king, a leader has to fall. Is it Trump that falls? Is it Zelensky that falls? Or is it Putin that falls? We'll have to see, but someone has to. Yeah, I'm going to say, given the cards already, maybe it's more likely to be Trump that has, because he abandons the field. We'll see. If he does abandon Ukraine, then any little shred of moral whatever, that will just completely just destroy everything, the last vestiges, if there's anything left anyway. And then we look here, the outcome card is the Three of Wands. This is the card of waiting for one's ships to come in. Yeah, this could be Ukraine potentially waiting for assistance from Europe, from the wider world. But this is also a card of trade and commerce. So what this suggests to me is that, and I hope it's not too idealistic, but I'm going to read the cards backwards again. Could it be that after the war ends, you know, Ukraine is able to reach out to the world and start to trade? Yeah, because a king or an obstacle or a leader has died. Yeah, or perished or been removed, based on a new legal infrastructure, rules and regulations that were put in place because someone walked away, most likely America. But ultimately, this could lead to what? Stability and security in Europe. I hope so. I hope that's not wildly optimistic, but that's how I'm seeing the cards. So I hope you find that interesting, folks. All right. Let's see how we're doing on time. Gosh, I've got 10 minutes left. Let's have a little look, see who else is in the house. What's this here? Oh, I missed it. Sorry, I was wanting to see something. What's this here? Tartan Spice says, Carol, I'm with you on the HIPAA issue. As a contractor, I have to spend hours doing online modules covering HIPAA, Massachusetts, and institutional guidelines on privacy and electronic data. Oh, so that's interesting there in the chat. People saying hello to each other. Let's scroll down a bit more. What's this here? Tartan Spice saying, afraid of registries I've never bred. I'm gonna pause on use. Okay, wait, that's okay. That was something else, a bit more personal in the chat. What's this here? Layla G is saying, I wonder if Trimo is going down for treason after doing intense research. I'm thinking very possible. Trimo, forgive me, I don't under. Is that a person or an institution? Sorry, I don't know that one. And Michelle Wright is saying, my daughter and son-in-law are still rabid Trump supporters. It's so frustrating that they can't see reality. Yes, unfortunately. Yeah. I've been shown the timeline of what happens there. It's probably a bit too tough to say here, but let's just say it might be this might be their last incarnation on Earth. Honestly, genuinely, might be the last incarnation. The consciousness of Earth is rising up, and we're in this tumultuous phase, yeah, because the old has to break down in order that the new should come. The Yuga cycle, has changed. We're now in Dwapara Yuga. Really, we kind of got there from like 1900, but we're really, really in that energy now. And that big alignment was the big announcement of that. The Age of Pisces is coming to an end. Because the thing is, Pisces is a wonderful sign. And of course, it deals with like Christianity, religion, etc. But it can also deal with blind faith. Yeah, that can be part of it as well. The illusions, delusions, blind faith. These people have blind faith in Trump. Even though everything is falling apart, they're still there. Yeah, so that is I know it's your family and stuff like that, and that's very difficult for you, but they've made their choice on a soul level. They've decided to align with Duckarange on a soul level. It's almost like a soul contract that they've made with him, because why can't they see? It's so obvious. Yeah. My daughter and son-in-law are still rabid Trump supporters. It's so frustrating that they can't see reality. But you remember that card, the Seven of Cups, the illusions and delusions? It's deep, isn't it? It's deep. But this really is about choices. Really is about choices. And the choices that people make now at this time in history are very consequential. And it will decide, they don't know it. These decisions that they're making will decide whether or not they can even reincarnate back on Earth. Like, it's that deep, because this is the confluence that we're at. When you include Chiron in that stellium, that is 8 planets. Like I said, we will never see this combination again in our lifetimes in this sign. We just won't. It's at least been hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. It's profound. It really is that division of the waters, as you heard me say before. Right. Oh, Nick Minx says, a UK government is no longer ruling out a youth visa deal with the EU ahead of a summit next month to reset relations after Brexit. Will this visa be instigated? Well, I bloody hope so. Yeah, that's another reality check, isn't it? I mean, I knew that the whole Brexit thing was a pile of bullshit from the beginning. And I know I'm swearing here, but I saw it from the get-go. 40% of our business, at least at the time, 40%, almost half of our business is with the European continent. Is Europe perfect? No, of course it isn't. But this, no growth in the UK, hardly any growth. And then you get people arguing, going, well, Germany's doing worse and Netherlands doing worse. But that's because we're not part of it as well. We were all feeding each other. The money was flowing. So, of course, Europe would struggle as well without Britain being there. It was mutually to either side's disadvantage. Oh, there could have been a bit more movement on the European side, definitely, you know, to realize, to read the air and realize the danger. But at the same time as well, the arguments that were made for, you know, pro-Brexit arguments, it was all folly and there was no plan anyway. It was a protest movement, really. So it was. There was no plan. Otherwise, it would have worked. You know, otherwise we would have had transitions. And then Theresa May wanted to kind of have a bit of a compromise. And then what did Boris do? Went and stabbed her in the back, wrote 2 articles. He wrote 2 articles. One was pro-Europe, one was anti-Europe. And he went with the anti-Europe because he knew that he could get to prime minister that way. His own ambition. And then Farage, you know, again for his own vanity. And he's actually very skilled in politics, but he just uses his skill for shadow. He's kind of got his tail between his legs, isn't it? After all of that, his dancing debacle with that douchebag Elon. Anyway, let's just see the visa. Will the visa thing be instigated? Let's have a look. Let's see what the cards have to say. The good thing about Saturn is, even though he destroys illusions, he is the planet of common sense. He is the pragmatic planet. And that's the lesson of Earth school. Saturn has the most enemies. So what it means is that what he represents is the most afflicted. Saturn, or even though he is a malefic, but Saturn represents discipline, self-control, grace, poise, logic, backbone, duty, responsibility, hard work. And he has the most enemies, which means in the collective, in humanity, these are often the qualities that are valued the least, or the least that people want to manifest. You know, the Trump voters, they're not disciplined. They're like, it's going to hurt everyone else, not me. And then I'm going to be rich. For what? For doing what? Now look, they're going to be hit the hardest. Nebraska's going to go bankrupt. Imagine all the other ones, with all the tourism. What are these red states are going to do for money? I'm going to let you know this. Pisces also deals with refugees, you know, by the way, victims, refugees. It's an amazing sign, but the shadow of it is hardcore. And I'm going to make a prediction for you guys. People in the red states are going to become refugees, and they're going to try to go to the blue states. And the blue states are going to say no. That's what's going to happen. What they're going to do without food stamps? He's cut SNAP, Medicaid. What they're going to do? Where they're going to get the medicine from? It's blue states that support all of that stuff. FEMA, he's cut FEMA. So when the next tornadoes and hurricanes rip through red states, no money. North Carolina literally begged him. He's like, no. After Storm Helene, what are they going to do? You know, wow. Anyway, sorry, I'm having a rant. Forgive me. Britain, visa, student visa. Will it happen? Youth visa, rather. Oh, sorry. You know, I get very impassioned on these things. Oh, there's 766 of you with me right now. All right, let's have a look. All right, it looks like it will happen, but there's a bit of a surprise. If we look here, yeah, Labour are stuck. Yeah, they're not liking the options on the table. Just so you know, the Labour government is who is in the current government of the UK, which is sort of like roughly equivalent to the Democrats, but in practice, when you actually look at American politics, the Democrats would be considered quite conservative by British or European standards. But anyway, and then the Conservatives in the UK would be equivalent to the Republicans in the US. But again, the conservatives would be, in terms of policy and stuff, will be closer to the Democrats than you've actually got in terms of the Republicans, which are just radical lunatics now, as we know. But anyway, the Labour government is not liking the options on the table. This is talking about the economy. Yeah, it's not been working out. Yeah, Brexit's not been so good. Yeah, those that are still in denial about it just need to get out of denial about it. We're 8 years in now, and we're not all flying around on golden hoverboards, are we? No, it's rubbish. Yeah, the economy is rubbish. It's shit. We all know it. But if we look here, there's an option coming out of the sky. I think this is the youth visa option, because you need that movement to happen. And students and stuff like that are a big part of the UK's soft power. There will be checks and balances, of course, because we do have issues with immigration and stuff like that. But we need to get that movement going, especially that Europe has been abandoned by the US. But look, there's a tower here, a tower moment. So what this suggests to me is that this might be politically potentially controversial. We'll have to see. Or there could be something surprising and unexpected. Could it be that the deal blows up in some kind of way and it doesn't happen? Or there's something surprising or unsettling. Sometimes the tower can actually be a good thing. Yeah, it's not always bad, but there's an element of unpredictability here. There may be some unforeseen consequences for some reason. If we look here, we get the Queen of Cups. And of course, as you know, this deals with creativity, arts, etc. This can also speak about Europe itself. The name Europe comes from Europa, yeah, who was abducted by Jupiter. But again, this talks about the arts, culture, creativity, but also as well talking about there's some secrets here. So I think there's an element here of a secret deal. It might be presented as a youth visa, but there might be more to it that the public doesn't yet know. Here, though, are the students. Yeah, this is one of the students' cards. The pages are all about messaging, yeah, but the Page of Wands in particular often will talk about oration, the orator, the student, the young voices. So they are speaking. And then look, the outcome card is the Nine of Cups. So that's, which is the card of wish fulfillment. Yeah, it can also talk about the smug merchant. This can also talk about what? Business. Yeah. So ultimately, there is some kind of hitch or surprise. There is a more secret element to this than the public may not know about, but the youth are up for it. Yeah, they're going to raise their voices. They're going to speak about it. It's going to be popular with the youth vote. And ultimately, there is some satisfaction. So at least I get to end there with some good news. It'll be nice to read some of the other ones, but, you know, sorry about that. You know, I get so deep into the cards, but I hope you guys found that interesting. Let's see who's here as well. I want to say a few more thank yous. Oh, thank you so much, Mama T. I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm curious about what way the Catholic Church goes with the new Pope, conservative or progressive. I was actually talking about that with my client today, Nadia. My instinct is it might be a bit more conservative because Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is a conservative sign. Thank you, Kia. But this is also a dividing line as well. If Conclave chooses a more progressive Pope, then Catholicism can still go on for a while. I mean, it's the Age of Pisces has ended as far as I'm concerned in terms of that alignment. So that's moving away from organized religion, but the decline will be slower. However, if they choose someone conservative, anti-abortion, anti-this, gay, blah, 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 everything, then it will hasten the fall of the church. That's what I was shown. Yeah. So my instinct is that they might go a bit more conservative. And Deborah's Blue Tarot saying, Hague, you are awesome. Thank you. Much appreciated. So let's see. In fact, come on. Oh, I'll pull 3 cards. I'll pull 3 cards. Will they go liberal or more conservative? What will Conclave choose? Because this is a big deal. 1.4 billion Catholics in the world. It used to be more. I'm sure it used to be 2 billion before, didn't it? They're not as popular as they were before, but anyway. Conclave, the new Pope. Who will they choose? Maybe Pope Francis will be helping from the other side as well. Let's see. If we get conservative cards, then we know the answer. If they're neutral, if we get temperance, that will be good. Yeah, balancing. And if they're more benign, then we might be onto something. But if we get hard cards, then we know it's... all right. First card out. Look, Five of Swords. This talks about what? An abuse of power. Yeah, an abuse of power, but this is an aggressive card. So I think it might be a more aggressive Pope, a sharper Pope. This tells me it's going to be more likely to be more conservative, but this is also showing as well there's probably going to be a lot of power struggles within this conclave. Look, the card that comes out again. Isn't this interesting? The Death card, but I was saying this is also talking about Pope Francis. You literally have a Pope here with his papal tiara. Or maybe not the papal tiara, it's something else. But here, so we see the Pope's funeral is this Saturday. Conclave is going to start soon, but already there's suggestions of abuses of power around the Pope's death. However, look, the outcome card is the Eight of Pentacles, which is a constructive card, building something, studiousness, working towards a goal. Whoever the Pope comes in, I think he's going to try and rebuild maybe the traditional foundations of the Catholic Church. This is also as well about raising revenue too. Yeah, raising revenue, money, infrastructure. So because this first card, my instinct is I think it's going to lean more on the conservative side, but I hope to be wrong on that one. Yeah, I hope to be wrong. All right, I will leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for your kind donations. Much appreciated. Thank you all for joining me here as well. Who else is here? Oh, people are here in the chit chat. China denied they are in talks. Yes, China is not picking up the phone to Duckarange. Why would they? They're like, you know what they're saying in private. In fact, their position is strengthened by not saying anything. They're not going to give him the honor of picking up the phone. He's going to have to beg Duckarange. Susan, strong delusion was given to them, indeed. Right, okay, I'm gonna leave it there, otherwise I'll end up reading through all the comments. Thanks so much for joining me this evening. Almost 800 of you, so much appreciated. Please, of course, be sure to like and subscribe and share. As we know, subscription is free, and it'd be nice to keep getting this out to a wider audience. Thanks so much for your questions and donations. And the next video you'll see from me, of course, will be a reflections. Yes, lots to reflect on. Yeah, I want to look at Atlantis as well. I'm going to be doing a bit more research on Atlantis. I want Atlantis to be my next reflections, and particularly as well with the death of the Pope and stuff like that. I want to be looking at that. So I will leave it there. Big love, everyone. Thank you so much. And I will see you all soon. Mwah! All right. Bye-bye for now.